Hi, friends of the Latino Chamber of Commerce of Boulder County. My name is Carla Colin. I am the program manager of the chamber. And today we have two amazing friends sharing great information with us. I want to introduce you to people from University of Colorado, specifically in Boulder. So as you know, we serve the Boulder County and surrounding areas. And today we're going to learn how to do business with the university. So I'm going to ask my two presenters here to introduce themselves so you guys get to know them, and then we can start with our presentation. Dave, do you want to start?
Sure, Carla. I'm Dave Korman. I'm the Small Business Liaison Officer for the university. Now, just to change a little bit of what Carla said, I work out of Shala and I work out of our system office where our procurement service center is. So we represent all four campuses.
Sounds good. Thank you, Dave. And then Shala.
Hi, good afternoon, friends. My name is Shala Sandoval. I am a procurement manager with the university, and I cover the platform of scientific and research, and very excited to work with you guys today.
Thank you so much for both of you to be here. We started planning these not so long ago, and we are here already, so that's amazing. Dave, do you want to walk us through the presentation, please?
Sure. So just the presentation is just an overview of how to do business with the university and a little bit of information about the university. So So as I mentioned earlier, there are four campuses that comprise the University of Colorado. Everyone's familiar with our Boulder campus. It's our largest campus and our oldest campus. We do have, though, we have our second largest campus is our Anschutz Medical Campus in Aurora. And then we have, the smallest campus is our university campus in Denver, downtown Denver. And then we also have our Colorado Springs campus. As I mentioned before, Shayla and I both work out of our system office, which is located on Grant Street in downtown Denver. And many of the functions for the university, administrative functions for the university are based out of that system administration building, including the PSC, which I mentioned, where we work out of, and where President Salman and the leadership office is based out of that building as well. So to get what we want to kind of get into the heart of our presentation is how do you prepare to be a contractor with the university? So the university, as you probably know, buys a wide range of products from what Shayla really is in with the research and the scientific, all the way to facilities management, maintenance products, things like that. So it's a very large cross of different products that we purchase. Now, most of the supplier relationships with the university, we invite suppliers to be a supplier, and that's how you get set up in our financial system. But a lot of the products that are purchased are from the department, and those are a relationship that we would have suppliers build with the campus departments individually. And so you don't have to be registered at that point to have a relationship. But when we get into larger procurements, the pay structure, how you get paid, is where we have you register with the university. We'll get into a little bit more about our thresholds, but our small dollar thresholds for the university are anything that's under $10,000, and those can be is a relationship that you can have directly with the department, and those the campus department can make that decision to go ahead and move forward with a small dollar procurement directly with our suppliers. There's no need to get the PSC involved and go through a long solicitation process. We also have our CU portal, which if you go on to our www.cu.edu, you can go in our PSC area, and there's lots of information about getting into more in depth with the different categories and our procurement agents, and even into the financial portal where you can learn more about how payments are made. So a little bit more, I mentioned if you want to be, this has kind of changed a little bit, that the registration period process has changed. We used to have our own supplier website where all our solicitations were listed. That has recently changed. We now are on BidNet, and that link will be later in the presentation. So all our large solicitations can be viewed on BidNet, but they were listed. They used to be listed. A little bit of a change in this. We probably should make a change on our page here about that. But we have different types of solicitations. They go from what we call a request for information, RFI, and Shayla, you can probably correct me on this, but we rarely do those. So it's more of our requests for documented quotes and RFPs. Those are larger solicitations that typically go over $10,000. So when they're not the small dollar solicitations, but those are a little bit more formal process for that we go through, and takes a little bit more of it's more of a process that everyone's involved with. So and we can always go, if we have another presentation, we can kind of delve into that a little bit more. That gets a little bit more complicated. So we can talk about that at a later time. So how do we do business? So we try and do everything that we can to be open, fair, and equal opportunity. We really do not have preferred vendors, because we operate out of our procurement rules, and those rules were created at the state level, and we adopted those rules. So that's not to say that we do not have access to university pricing agreements. We do. Those are shared with many higher education facilities. We access those when they're in the best interest of the university, but we do, and we can access state specific agreements, but the vast majority of our procurements are gone through and they're open to everybody, and it's a competitive process that everyone can be involved with. A little bit about the PSC itself. So we work on with the authority of the Board of Regents and the president of the university, Todd Salmon. Our CPR, Chief Procurement Officer, his name is Ed Mills. He reports directly to the president, and we serve all 4 campuses and all the department users. So, and as I mentioned before, we do procurement of goods and services. We're to our procurement rules. And a little bit more is we have, 1 senior director of procurement and sourcing. We have 4 managers. Shayla is one of our 4 managers. And then each of those managers has a number of our purchasing agents that flow up and report to them. In conjunction with that, we have contract managers that work with the procurement agents and the managers. I work with our strategic sourcing specialist and our team. And then we have a compliance and a training person. We have a procurement coordinator. And then actually, I am the small business liaison officer. So as I mentioned before, the purchasing thresholds. So our first one is what we consider our small dollar purchasing thresholds. And those are purchases under $10,000. And those are considered what we consider small dollar. Under most circumstances, those are processed by the campus department, and they use their purchasing P card, a credit card, that to make those purchases, and they can go ahead and do that without a lot of red tape. So we can kind of make a very quick decision and get those processed very quickly. Once we start moving above $10,000, that's when we kind of get more, there's more of a process involved in that. So any good or service between $10,000 and $150,000, then we start to require more documentation. We got to have the department's got to complete a couple forms, a price reasonableness form, and then that information, we have to get information from 2 suppliers to make sure that we are being competitive and we're doing our due diligence on this. And then when that is, all those criteria are met, we can go ahead and move forward with the purchase of that. When we start to get over $150,000, that's when we start to get into more of those competitive type bids where Shayla's team or our purchasing agents get involved, and they work on behalf of the department and going through and moving forward with the solicitation and getting all the information and making sure that the best product is purchased, not necessarily based on price, but on what's best for the university and what's best to meet the campus needs. We have, as I mentioned before, we buy a wide range of different items. So we have, and it's a little bit of, it's one area that we already have translated here. So we have different commodities already listed. We have over 50 commodities. So it's a lot of different items, anywhere from, we have laboratory animals we purchase for our research to, as I mentioned, carpeting. So it can be a wide range of anything. And our 7 purchasing agents manage they each manage a number of these categories. So it's a wide range of items, and it can be anything and anytime we can have a need for those items. So where can you find our solicitations? As I mentioned, we recently moved to the Rocky Mountain BidNet, so all our solicitations can be found there. Even our building ones, our contracting for construction procurement used to be through the state. Now that is also can be found on the BidNet as well. In additional information, if you want to find out more about individual areas about doing business at the university, again, you can go on to our cu.edu and go into the PSC area, doing business with CU. Can get and give you a little bit more detail on that. A little bit about our small business and our supplier diversity program. So the university and the Board of Regents have made it's important that we support local businesses. So, wherever possible, we try to support local small business in the state of Colorado, but we still have to follow our procurement rules, and we have to be open and transparent with our procurement. So, it's a consideration that we take, that we move forward with. Part of our small business program, though, part of that is when we get federal money or grants from the federal government for the National Institute of Health would be one. If we get a study that there's a research project that we get federal dollars, that when we have a certain threshold, $750,000 on those grant money, we have to do a subcontracting plan that we report to the federal government. And that's where any kind of small business subcontracting plans have a component that local small business needs to be utilized. So when we do get those, we search out for small businesses, hopefully that they're in Colorado. But if need be, we will search anywhere in the United States for those small businesses to support that. So that's something that we report on, and we have a very good track record of supporting small businesses through that program. A little bit of a couple helpful hints to doing business is if if you're doing any current business with a university, leverage those contacts that you have in the department. That is going to be your best reference from other departments to get your foot in the door, either at Boulder or in Anschutz, at any of the campus levels to use that. We always say, cold calling is very difficult on campus because they're large campuses. There's lots of buildings. You never know who's going to be in. There's office hours, but professors and department people, hard to reach. So cold calling, we try to discourage that whenever possible, or just sending random emails to campus departments. So it's hard. It's if you can use your current access, or if you have, I can be a resource as well to try to help you get access to a customer or a client on campus. That's your best route, not just going to campus and making a random cold call. Also, we have very robust, our websites for each campus has a lot of information that you can utilize as far as contact people. So use that wherever possible. And the other part is, are you registered as a small business? That is always helpful to know as well. I know we're going to get into that in a little bit more, but that is always kind of a feather in your cap. If you are registered, you can kind of play that side up, and our campus departments know that we want to use local business if it's possible. So that's that part. And now we can kind of, Carla, do you want to go in through the Q&A now, or what's next?
This was very clear, and I just want to make sure that we ask some questions that I'm pretty sure people are going to have. And then, of course, during the description of this video, I will put your guys' information so people can contact you, and also the links that you have provided for BidNet. But it's hard to know if a business qualifies to be a supplier or to do business with CU, because it's very case-to-case basis, basically. I want to make sure that if you have any questions after this presentation, you go to the links that we're going to put on the description, but also you can contact Dave and Shayla where they can answer some questions or direct you to the right people, but make sure to watch the whole presentation. We're going to do this presentation again in Spanish. So if you prefer to see this presentation in Spanish, that's what I recommend. But something that catch my eye, Dave, and tell me if you mentioned this and I didn't quite get it, is that for small businesses or for becoming a supplier, you need to be referred or invited by a CU department. And I know you mentioned that it's really hard to keep control if we start contacting random people. But how does a small business can do that approach in a proper way? Or how do they get connected with the correct department to get this invitation?
Sure. It's a question that always comes up. So one of the things, especially when we're talking, like those purchases that happen that are under $10,000, right? So if a campus department wants to purchase or utilize a supplier's services or, goods or services, and they want to use the department wants to pay with their department P card, right? That's where at that point they would invite that they would have that business get referred and be invited, so they could be set up for the accounts payable, right? Basically, so that we know who to pay. So that's really what that's for. It's you can talk to these campus departments and talk about your product and everything, but until the campus decides okay, we want to move forward with you. At that point, that's when it would be, setting up that, that accounts payable is really what it is. So they're setting up so they can get paid. And some of our small businesses decide they don't, even though it's under $10,000 and they could be paid, some of them don't want to accept a credit card because there is a percentage that they have to pay on there, right? It's like a couple, I think maybe even up to 5%. And if they do not want to have to get dinged for that 5%, that's when they can also register and set up with our campus department and the PSC to get a purchase order. So they would get paid without having to pay that 5% fee. It takes a little bit longer. I think, the program is you get paid within 30 days, but that's when you would register and get everything, all your setup. And that's where also the business would have to provide some of their tax ID information and their business information on that. So that's the reason why we don't automatically set everyone up, because there's, honestly, not everyone might decide to do business with the university. So we don't set everyone up immediately. That's the reason why.
That's good to know. Thank you, Dave. And then my last question is, does a small business needs to be certified as a small business or minority-owned business to conduct business with the university?
That's another great question. I'm glad you asked that. The quick answer is no. It doesn't. You do not have to be certified as a small minority, women-owned, veteran-owned, whatever the category may be. You don't have to do that. We recommend it depending on what your product is, right? If you're a caterer, I don't think you have to be certified, to be honest, because really where the certification comes into play is if you were a contractor for a construction project, that's where that is a little bit more important, because the contract may dictate that we need to utilize a certain percentage of small businesses in certain categories. Especially when we have a federal agreement, getting a grant for a federal contract, and it reaches our threshold where we need to report on that. Yes, then we need to use some small businesses that are certified there, and that's where it's important. Now, if you're just not having you're not going to be selling to a department on a federal contract, we're not doing any reporting, so it's not really required. So we don't have that, but if you want to be listed, I think it's more advantageous for those businesses, because if you are listed, then you could also list yourself with the SBA as a small business, and that could open up to business outside the university as well. So I think it's advantageous. We can help you find organizations that will help certify you at no cost to you. So that's an advantage as well. So even though you don't have to be certified to do business with the university, we think it's advantageous for small businesses to be certified if they want to do that.
Definitely. And if anyone has any questions about how to get certified, please reach out to the Latino Chamber. We support by referring business with our direct contacts and really good friends at the SBA, and also the Office of Economic Development and International Trade of the state, and the MBO, the Minority Business Office in Colorado. So those are great partners that the Latino Chamber has, and that we can refer any businesses that would like to get certified or learn the process on how to get certified as a minority-owned business or a small business. So thank you so much for clarifying that, Dave. And I would say that the bigger the project, the better you recommend that they are certified, so they have not only opportunities with CU, but with other organizations, including government. So I think that's something that we can definitely support small businesses with. Thank you so much, Dave,
Absolutely.
for doing this presentation. Like I said before, we're gonna have the same presentation in Spanish. And I don't know if you have anything else that you would like to add.
I don't. I mean, my contact information will be on the slides. Feel free to contact me. I get a lot of contact from different businesses of, who do I need to talk to? Those type of questions. I'm here to help wherever I can and direct you to, the right people and help you find the information. There's not always an opportunity, to be honest. But when there is, we want to support local businesses where we can, and if we can keep it in the state of Colorado, that's better for everybody. So that's what we want to do.
Thank you so much, Dave. Bye-bye, amigos. Thank you so much for joining this interview, and we'll go to the Spanish next. Thank you.